Welcome to our deep dive. It's a question I think we've all asked ourselves as dog lovers.
Yeah.
Do our dogs really love us back? I mean, we give them so much affection and treats and belly rubs, but
Yeah.
are those tail wags and those puppy dog eyes, are they all just a big act for a snack, or is there actually
That's
something more there?
that is the question, isn't it? And luckily for us, there's a ton of research and opinions from experts to unpack this. We've got articles from Dog News, the American Kennel Club, VCA Animal Hospitals, Newsweek, BBC Science Focus magazine,
Wow.
even a really interesting piece from abc.net in Australia.
It's like we're going on a scientific investigation.
It is.
I've got my detective hat on. I'm ready to go.
Before we get too carried away with all the heartwarming stuff,
Okay.
let's think about the skeptical view for a second. Some researchers think that dogs might actually be what they call social parasites.
Social parasites.
Yeah.
That sounds a little rough.
Yeah.
Are we saying our furry friends are just using us?
Not exactly. The idea is that dogs have evolved to be really good at making us humans want to take care of them.
Oh,
Stephen Budiansky,
okay.
who's a science writer and historian, he even calls them con artists at the very top of their game.
So you're saying those puppy dog eyes are just like a really effective evolutionary trick?
It's definitely a thought-provoking idea.
It is. Makes you think twice about giving in to those begging looks at the dinner table.
It does.
But we can't forget there's another side to this too. We can't just ignore all the science behind those feel-good moments with our dogs.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's talk about oxytocin.
Right.
It's called the love hormone.
I've heard of that.
This chemical, it gets released in both humans and dogs when we're having those bonding moments.
So it's not just us who are feeling the love.
No, our brains are in sync when we're cuddling our pups.
Ah.
Yeah, a Japanese study found that when dogs and their owners look into each other's eyes, it triggers a release of oxytocin in both of them. And guess what? They did the same study with wolves, who don't make eye contact as much with humans.
Okay.
And they didn't have the same rush of oxytocin.
So it's not just about being any four-legged creature. It's about that special bond between dogs and humans
Yeah.
that creates these good feelings.
Exactly. Now let's go even deeper into the brains of dogs.
Okay.
With some amazing technology, Dr. Gregory Burns has been using MRI scans.
MRI scans on dogs. Wow.
To understand what's going on in their brains.
I can't even imagine getting a dog to sit still in that machine.
It takes a lot of patience
Yeah.
and training, but the results are revolutionary. They found that the caudate nucleus,
Okay.
which is the reward center in a dog's brain, it lights up when they smell their owner's scent.
It's like their brain is saying, yay, that's my person just from a sniff.
It is.
I'm a little jealous of those super sniffers.
Yeah. It really shows you how important smell is for dogs. But of course, some people might say that this brain activity is just them associating the smell with food or treats.
Yeah, that makes sense. I get excited when I smell fresh-baked cookies, but my heart doesn't skip a beat when I smell my roommate.
That's a great point. It shows that there might be more to this bond than just a simple reaction to getting treats.
And we can't forget all those heartwarming moments we see with our dogs every day. The way they look at us, cuddle up for comfort, or even seem to know when we're feeling down.
Absolutely. And there's science to back that up. Studies have found that dogs can actually recognize human emotions on our faces. They can tell if we're happy, sad, or even angry.
So they have this like emotional radar tuned into how we're feeling.
Yeah, and this connection, it's not new. It goes back thousands of years.
I've always wondered about that. It's not like our ancestors were searching for furry cuddle buddies.
Yeah.
There must have been a reason for this relationship.
Well, let's think about it. Early dogs and humans probably had a relationship where they both benefited.
Yeah.
Dogs got protection and food, and humans gained a loyal companion, a helper for hunting, and even an extra set of eyes and ears for safety.
The ultimate win-win.
Right. It makes you wonder if those early canine pals actually gave humans an advantage over, say, Neanderthals.
No, that's a thought.
That's an interesting theory.
Right.
From anthropologist Pat Shipman in her book, The Invaders.
Okay.
She thinks that dogs might have changed the course of human history, helping us to outcompete other species.
So we've established this bond is a big deal. But how do dogs actually show their affection? It's got to be more than just wagging their tails, right?
Oh, yeah. Much more. Remember, their main sense is smell, not sight. They experience the world through all these smells, and that affects how they communicate with us. It's like they have this P-mail system where dogs get information about other dogs through scent markings.
So those times they're sniffing around at the park.
Yeah.
They're not just wandering aimlessly. They're catching up on all the doggy gossip.
They are. It's like their own social media.
That's wild. I never thought of it that way. But this whole smell-driven world, It's tough for us humans to really understand, isn't it?
It is, and it's probably the key to figuring out how dogs experience emotions and connections. There's even research that suggests dogs can smell human stress.
Wait, they can actually sniff out our anxieties? That's incredible.
Correct.
It's like they have this sixth sense about how we're feeling. It makes those doggy cuddles even more special.
It does. And it might explain why dogs are so good at comforting us and being there for us. They're tuned into our feelings in ways we're only beginning to understand.
It makes you wonder how much they're affected by our moods without us even knowing.
It's a fascinating question. It suggests a deeper connection that goes beyond just teaching them to sit or fetch. We're always affecting each other whether we know it or not.
So when my dog snuggles up to me after a bad day, maybe they're not just looking for a comfy spot, but actually trying to make me feel better.
It's possible. And it really shows how empathetic dogs can be. They might not understand our problems in the same way we do, but they can feel our emotions and react to them. This reminds me of all those amazing stories about dogs knowing when their owners are sick or in danger.
There's that crazy story in dog news about a dog that rescued its owner from a house fire.
Yeah.
It's incredible that they have this intuition and can react so heroically.
And there are tons of examples of dogs detecting medical conditions like cancer or seizures, sometimes even before their humans realize something's wrong.
It makes you rethink what we consider intelligence, right?
Right.
We humans tend to value logic and thinking things through, but dogs are amazing at emotional intelligence, knowing how to be social and using their senses.
Maybe we should learn a thing or two from them.
I agree.
In our busy, tech-filled world, we often forget how important those nonverbal cues are.
Maybe if we spent more time with our dogs watching them and tuning into their senses, it could help us reconnect with those abilities we have inside ourselves.
You're onto something there. It's about slowing down, paying attention to the moment, and appreciating those simple joys of connection, just like dogs do.
And speaking of connection, let's talk about those genius dogs for a minute.
Yes.
The ones that are like super smart and go beyond what we thought dogs could do.
Exactly. Dogs like Chaser, who learned over 1,000 words.
Wow.
And the dogs Miklosi is studying, who can learn tons of new words super fast. They're changing what we thought dogs were capable of.
But even with these incredible dogs, we can't just assume they understand language the same way we do.
You're right. It's probably a mix of things: context, tone, the dog's personality, and how they learn.
And I'm sure their human companions have some clever training tricks up their sleeves too.
Absolutely. And let's not forget that each dog is different with their own strengths and weaknesses. Just like us, some dogs are naturally more curious, eager to please, or sensitive to their surroundings.
And those differences come from both their genes and their environment, which makes it even more fascinating.
Exactly. That's why it's important to consider a dog's breed history, early experiences, and how they've been trained to understand their behavior. We can't treat them all the same. They're as diverse as humans are.
And just as complex. Each dog has their own inner world and their own way of seeing and reacting to the world.
Beautifully said. It's about appreciating those differences, celebrating what makes each dog special, and embracing the mystery of what's going on inside their heads.
We might never fully understand how dogs think, but that's part of what makes them so interesting. I think this is a good spot to take a pause.
Okay.
We'll continue this deep dive in our next session. What do you think?
That sounds great. I can't wait to dig into more of this research with you. Welcome back to our deep dive, where we're trying to figure out if dogs really do love us. Before the break, we were talking about those super smart, genius dogs.
Yeah, the canine Einsteins who seem to be like redefining what we think dogs are capable of.
Exactly. Like Chaser, who learned over 1,000 words.
That's incredible.
Researchers and dog lovers everywhere are fascinated by these dogs.
It makes you wonder, how much are they actually understanding? Are they just memorizing sounds, or are they really grasping the meaning behind the words?
It's a tough question, and researchers are still working on it. It's likely a mix of things like context, tone, the dog's personality, and their individual learning style.
So maybe it's not exactly like humans understand language, but it's still amazing how they communicate.
Absolutely. And it shows us how important it is to pay attention to our dogs and learn how they communicate with us. After all, their main sense is smell, not sight. They experience the world through all these smells, and that shapes how they see and interact with everything.
It's mind-blowing. I can't even imagine what it's like to experience the world through smell with a sense that's a million times stronger than mine.
Yeah, it would be totally different. And remember that study we talked about? The one that showed a direct link between the smell and sight centers in a dog's brain? It suggests that what they see and what they smell are all mixed up together in ways we can't even understand.
Now, those sniffing adventures at the park make a lot more sense. It's not just random sniffing around. They're gathering information, reading the P-mail, and creating a whole picture of their surroundings through scent.
Exactly. And here's something even more interesting. Research has shown that dogs can actually smell human stress.
So wait, they can smell when we're anxious.
Yeah, they pick up on our emotions through our scent.
That's wild. It's like they have this secret window into our feelings that makes those doggy cuddles feel even more special.
It does. And it highlights just how complex their world of senses is and how deeply they connect with us. It makes you wonder how much our moods affect them without us even realizing it.
That's a deep thought. It means the bond goes beyond just teaching them tricks.
Mm.
It's a two-way street where we're always influencing each other subconsciously.
Exactly. It shows how empathetic dogs can be. They may not understand our problems intellectually, but they can sense how we're feeling and react to it. That's what makes them such amazing companions.
It reminds me of all those heartwarming stories about dogs sensing when their owners are sick or in danger.
Yeah, there are so many stories about dogs knowing when their humans need extra support or even saving their lives.
Maybe it's not just coincidence. Maybe dogs have this ancient intuition or some special sense that we humans have lost touch with.
It's a fascinating idea. It definitely makes us question what we think about intelligence and awareness. We like to focus on logic and reasoning, but dogs are incredible at emotional intelligence, social skills, and using their senses.
Maybe we could learn a thing or two from them.
I think so. In our busy world full of technology, we often forget about those subtle, nonverbal cues.
I agree. If we spent more time with our dogs, watching them and tuning into their senses, it could help us reconnect with those abilities we have inside.
You're right. It's about slowing down, being present, and appreciating those simple connections, just like dogs do.
And speaking of connection, let's get back to our original question. Do dogs really love us? We've looked at a lot of interesting research. What do you think after all this? What's your take on this age-old debate?
It would be easy to just say yes or no, but I think it's more complicated than that. The evidence definitely shows a deep and complex bond. It's more than just wanting food or shelter. The oxytocin studies the brain scans the way they behave. It all points to dogs having a genuine capacity for affection and attachment.
But like you said earlier, love is a complicated human idea. It's hard to know if dogs experience it in the same way we do. It could be a different kind of love, shaped by their unique senses and how they've evolved.
Exactly. We shouldn't put our human definitions of love onto dogs. They have their own way of feeling and showing emotions. Maybe their version of love is something we'll never fully grasp.
But even if we can't prove they love us in the exact same way we love them, the evidence shows a powerful and meaningful connection, one that's been developing over thousands of years.
A partnership that has helped both dogs and humans in countless ways and continues to make our lives better in ways we may never fully understand.
I think that's a great way to put it. The bond between humans and dogs shows the power of connection, empathy, and understanding between different species. It's a bond based on trust, loyalty, and a willingness to learn from each other.
Beautifully said. It's about appreciating the differences, celebrating what makes each dog unique, and embracing the mystery of their inner world. We may never completely understand the canine mind, and that's part of what makes them so fascinating.
And that's what keeps us coming back for more cuddles, walks in the park, and belly rubs, even if those puppy dog eyes are a little manipulative sometimes.
Maybe just a little. But isn't that part of what makes them so lovable?
It is. They're experts at winning our hearts, and we wouldn't have it any other way. I think this is a good place to wrap up this part of our deep dive. What do you say we take a short break and then come back to talk about what all this research means for our relationships with our furry friends?
That sounds great. I'm looking forward to exploring those practical applications with you.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the world of dog love. Before the break, we were talking about how complex this bond is and how dogs might experience emotions differently than us. But I think we can all agree that the connection between humans and dogs is really special.
It really is. And it makes you think about how we can use this knowledge to make our relationships with our dogs even better.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's not just about figuring out if dogs love us. It's about using what we know to improve how we interact with them every day.
Exactly. Like we talked about how sensitive dogs are to our emotions through our body language and even our scent. Just imagine the impact we have on our dogs if we're more aware of our own moods and energy.
So if I'm stressed out, my dog might actually pick up on that and start feeling stressed too.
It's definitely possible. Dogs are really good at reading those subtle cues, and they often mirror our emotions. If we're tense, they might get anxious or agitated. But if we're calm and relaxed, they're more likely to feel safe and secure.
That makes a lot of sense. It reminds us that dogs aren't just pets who follow orders. They're emotional beings who are really connected to us.
Exactly. And that changes how we approach training and communication. Instead of focusing on commands and corrections, we can work on building trust understanding and using positive reinforcement.
So instead of just telling my dog to sit or stay, I should be thinking about how to create a positive environment where they feel good about cooperating.
Exactly. By building that strong bond and communicating clearly, we can help our dogs feel more confident, secure, and engaged in learning.
It makes training sound a lot less like a power struggle and more like teamwork.
That's exactly what it should be. It's about working together, respecting each other's needs, and celebrating our differences.
I love that idea. But let's be real, even the best dog owners get frustrated sometimes. Dogs aren't perfect, and they don't always do what we want.
Of course. But even when we're frustrated, it's important to remember that our dogs aren't trying to be difficult. They're just reacting to their environment and communicating the best way they know how.
So instead of getting mad or punishing them, we should try to understand what they're trying to tell us and figure out why they're behaving that way.
Exactly. If we take a step back and see things from their point of view, we can often find solutions that are more effective and kinder than traditional punishment.
This whole conversation has been so eye-opening. I feel like I have a totally new understanding of how deep and complex the bond between humans and dogs really is.
Me too.
Yeah.
And I hope everyone listening feels inspired to use this knowledge to improve their relationships with their dogs. It's about recognizing that our dogs aren't just pets. They're family friends and teachers who enrich our lives in so many ways.
I think you said it perfectly. So to all the dog lovers out there, the next time you look into those soulful eyes, remember, you're looking at a being who is capable of deep love, loyalty, and understanding.
And while we may never fully understand the canine mind, the journey of discovery is what makes this bond so special. So cherish those moments, observe their behavior, learn their language, and keep exploring the amazing world of human-dog connection.
Beautifully said. It's been great diving deep into this topic with you.
Mhm.
And to everyone listening, thanks for joining us on this exploration of dog love. Until next time, keep those tails wagging and those hearts full.